Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and lock your doors. You have entered the world of the unknown. Welcome to the Dead Hour broadcast.
The rain was a relentless drumbeat against the grimy windows of the N73 night bus. Liam, a night shift barista, watched the city lights blur into streaks of neon and amber. It was 2 a.m., and the bus was almost empty, a metallic sarcophagus rumbling through the wet London streets. He just wanted to get home, shower, and forget the lingering smell of burnt coffee and cynical patrons. He was one of only 3 passengers left. A homeless man sprawled across the back seats, snoring loudly, and an elderly woman with a severe bun and a perpetually disapproving expression clutching a worn handbag. Liam sat near the front, trying to lose himself in the static hum of his headphones. The bus pulled away from a deserted stop. Liam glanced up. Across the aisle where the elderly woman had been sat a new passenger. She was strikingly beautiful, with long raven hair that cascaded over her shoulders and eyes that seemed to reflect the dim bus lights with an unsettling intensity. She wore a simple dark dress, almost a shroud, and her skin was impossibly pale. Liam, accustomed to the oddities of nighttime London, gave her a quick, polite nod and then went back to his music. A few minutes later, the bus slowed for another stop. The woman didn't move. The doors hissed open and then closed again. The bus continued. Liam felt a prickle of unease. He looked up again. The woman was still there, now staring directly at him. Her gaze was not hostile, but deeply inquisitive. A faint smile touched her lips, but it didn't reach her eyes, which remained wide and unblinking. Liam cleared his throat, feeling a blush creep up his neck. He quickly averted his gaze, focusing on the distorted reflection of the streetlights in the window. He tried to tell himself he was just tired, imagining things. The next stop, the bus slowed. The doors opened. Nothing. The doors closed. The bus moved on. Liam risked another glance. The woman was still looking at him. Her smile had widened slightly. He noticed something else now. Her hands. They were clasped in her lap, long, slender fingers intertwined. But the nails, they were almost black, impossibly long and curved at the tips, like talons. A shiver ran down Liam's spine. He pulled out his headphones, the sudden silence of the bus feeling heavy. The only sounds were the rain and the rhythmic squeak of the wipers. He could feel her eyes on him. The homeless man continued to snore in the back. The elderly woman was nowhere in sight. Had she gotten off? He couldn't remember seeing her. The bus was now taking an unfamiliar route. This wasn't the way to his flat. Panic began to claw at him. He stood up, steadying himself against the seat in front. "Excuse me," he called out to the driver, his voice a little shaky. "This isn't the usual route for the N73, is it?" The driver, a burly man with a cap pulled low, grunted without turning his head. "Just a small diversion, mate. Roadworks." Liam felt a knot of fear tighten in his stomach. He looked back at the woman. Her grin was now a wide, unsettling grin, revealing teeth that seemed a little too sharp, a little too numerous. Her eyes, still unblinking, held an ancient, hungry glint. He noticed now that her hair wasn't just dark, it was impossibly black, absorbing light, and seemed to subtly writhe at the edges like living tendrils. Liam took a step towards the driver. "I need to get off," he insisted, his voice a little shaky. "This isn't right." The driver slowly, almost deliberately, pulled the bus over. The doors hissed open. The street outside was completely dark, lined with derelict warehouses and overgrown weeds. No streetlights, no other cars, just an oppressive, inky blackness. "All right, mate, this is your stop," the driver said, his voice strangely flat. Liam hesitated, glancing back at the woman. She was still grinning, her head tilted, as if savoring a private joke. The homeless man in the back was still snoring. Then the homeless man stirred. He coughed, a wet, rattling sound. He slowly sat up, rubbing his eyes. He looked around the empty bus, then his eyes fell on the woman. His face, etched with hardship, suddenly contorted in pure, unadulterated terror. He began to scramble backwards, whimpering. "Run, lad!" The homeless man croaked, his voice raw with fear, pointing a trembling finger at the woman. The woman's grin vanished. Her eyes narrowed into slits, and a low, guttural growl emanated from deep within her chest. The sound was not human. It was a predator's rumble. Liam didn't need any more convincing. He stumbled off the bus, the cold, wet air hitting him like a physical blow. He didn't look back. He just ran. He ran through the puddles, slipping on the slick pavement, his heart hammering against his ribs. He didn't know where he was going, only that he had to get away from that bus. He ran for what felt like an eternity, until he collapsed, gasping for breath behind a stack of rusted barrels in an abandoned lot. He waited, listening. The sound of the bus had faded into the distant city hum. Slowly, carefully, he peered out. The bus was gone. The street was empty. He was truly alone. His phone buzzed. It was a text from his flatmate. "Hey, where are you? You missed your usual bus stop hours ago. Saw the N73 go by without stopping. Thought you might have gotten off early." Liam stared at the text, his blood turning to ice. Hours ago? He looked around the desolate, dark street. He knew this wasn't his usual bus route, but how far had he traveled, and for how long? Then he saw it. On the greasy black tarmac, just where the bus had stopped, was a small, familiar object, a worn leather handbag, the kind an elderly woman might carry. And next to it, glinting wetly in the faint light from a distant industrial complex, was a single, long, black, curved fingernail. He never took the night bus again. He often wondered about the driver, and the homeless man, and the elderly woman, and the beautiful passenger with the predatory smile. Sometimes late at night, when the rain lashed against his window, he still heard a faint, rhythmic scraping sound, like talons dragging on metal, fading into the city's mournful hum. He knew, with chilling certainty, that he had just narrowly escaped becoming the last stop.
The story ends here, but the fear remains. If you want to survive the night, hit that subscribe button. And remember, don't look under your bed tonight.